Hello, this is Lorenzo here. Welcome to A Mission a Day, episode 21. And I'm starting in the main screen here because something happened. I went and installed a mod again. I installed Kethane, which is basically a resource finding, mining and refining mod. I don't know a lot about it. I checked out the first version almost a year ago, I think. And this looks a lot shinier than it did. We're not going to dive into it immediately, but at least the parts are available, so any satellites, orbiters and exploration vehicles can now start scanning for Kethane, probably. One more thing I did is update the mission controller package, as suggested by Jay Cheetah, said that the updated version has some easier ways of completing a mission, which I did forget every now and then. So we're going to see if that update was in fact successful. And if so, then we're going to continue with that. So look at the mission controller here. We have 148,405 credits. If you are smart and remembered from last episode, this is quite a bit more. This is because of the new rule I implemented, where one YouTube view is worth 100 credits. Now, episodes 1 through 20 have so far combined 1,430 credits or views, more or less, so that translates to about 141,000 credits, giving us this nice amount of money to play with. A subscription will clock in at 1,000 credits, and I'm going to rule that the subscriptions that I have thus far don't count. So no subscription money thus far, but if you're unsubscribed and watching this, please click the subscribe button. You're giving the space program $1,000. Now what we're doing today is we will be rescuing Kernie the Kerman. Yesterday in the mission to add the fuel core to the station, he detached his capsule without fuel. So we designed a rocket. Bob will be the one to get him. We designed a rocket with an extra seat that will bring Kernie back. Now, for those of you that have not seen the past 20 missions, first of all, there is a compilation available that I made. It's 20 missions in 3 minutes, so rather quickly you will get up to speed watching that. But also let me tell you what Kernie has done so far while I launch this rocket. Kernie has inadvertently re-entered the atmosphere by crashing. His pod then survived, upon which point he stepped out of it and plummeted to the ocean. Now normally that would be it for any astronaut. He died, we mourned him and we moved on. Upon moving on, however, we found that he appeared in the astronaut complex again. Very strange. And this was his first mission as a legal zombie, because he came back from the dead. He's a zombie, and the first thing he did was leave his capsule behind. And sorry for the interruption. I had to fix the door. My mosquito screen was blowing off in very, very strong winds that we have here today. Anyway, what I was saying, Kernie, after reincarnating as a proper legal zombie, he piloted the craft that was to sit on top of the fuel core of the station, and then promptly detached from said craft with no fuel. So he's now stranded in space and we are launching to get him. It occurs to me now that we are basically launching without checking where he is in the orbit, and that might be very bad because he is in a... oh, and wait a second. We're at least not draining our fuel tanks, and because he's in a very low orbit, we basically only have the option of going in a higher orbit than him and then letting him catch up to us. So if we are behind him, it is going to be a long mission that will take forever to get to him. Anyway, we will see after we get to orbit. I launched in the night side of Kerbal, so my talking about Kernie is probably the only thing that's entertaining apart from this rocket plume. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut forward to when we are in orbit. See you then. Well, here we are, a beautiful sunrise and in orbit. You can have a look at the craft. We have some extra batteries here on the lander can, which is slaved to the command pod and carries its own heat shield. These batteries are there only to power the reaction wheels should this prove imbalanced, so it can maintain proper orientation in the atmosphere. Now, these tanks This one here will be an orbital maneuvering stage should it be needed, and this one will serve to re-enter the dual capsule system. The remainder of this booster stage will be used to meet up and rendezvous with the target, the pod, no, not this one, the pod rescue target 1, which is here. This is us. So we have set that as target, and we're going to try and get a rendezvous going. So I will not be talking through this. As you can see, by the way, the planet is overlaid with a kethane scanning grid. We're not using this yet, but let's have a look. We can choose to either show the grid or not show it, kethane or something else. We're just going to remove the grid for now because we're not messing about with this yet, but it looks promising, it looks nice. So I'm going to set up the maneuver node and the rendezvous. You enjoy this in fast forward. So there we are, zooming by at about 15 kilometers. I have not turned the rocket in its proper way yet, so we're going to try and boost for Kernie the Kerman in his stricken unpowered craft. Fortunately, this rocket that Bob is riding still has plenty of Delta V in it remaining, and a couple of quick bursts at 3 to 4 Gs should bring him close to Kernie. We're going to go for the brute force approach, just point the rocket at Kernie and fire it. 16 kilometers to cross. This means if we do it slowly, the curvature of space in this area will mess up our trajectory, so we had better not do it too slowly. So we're going to just boost for it and hope for the best. We're not aiming for a large station, which we can hit and knock solar panels off. We are aiming for a small capsule. The odds of us hitting it is very small. Now our booster stage has run out though, so if we're going to jettison that now here, and if this is on a collision course with poor Kernie, there's nothing we can do about it now. So let's hope we didn't crash him, we didn't kill him just now, which we'll find out in a bit. This premium piece of orbital debris will stay up here forever because we did not deorbit it or anything. We are just send it hurtling to Kernie. So this is almost the final vehicle. This tank here will serve to slow us down once we get to Kernie. Let's time accelerate a little bit up to that point. And then Kernie will have to hop out of his capsule and get on over to this lander can. Now you might be wondering why I didn't just send up a probe or a can with a computer attached, a probe core that Kernie could have gotten into. And this is a perfectly viable, fine way to pick someone up. Don't forget though that Kernie is incredibly incompetent. He jumped out of a capsule and he detached from a fuel tanker, then ran out of fuel. So the trust we at the space program have in Kernie is limited. So we basically send up Bob to just go and grab him. So we're going to radio him and ask Kernie to please come over here. We're not going to make him EVA 800 meters or whatnot. We're going to just get him. We're going to just, oh no, I'm talking and boosting and we're just going to ram him now. That's not good. That's not good. Full throttle on the reverse thrusters. Here we go. Accidentally almost a perfect rendezvous. That was a bit scary for a second because I was just talking and not paying attention to the target, causing Kernie to almost die. Right, so we are going to switch craft to the Kernie craft and hopefully we can complete this mission. Oh no, we are not going to be able to complete the mission because this craft is not going to be brought back to Kerbin. If it were, then we would complete the mission. Change of plans. Bob is going to push this craft out of orbit with his ship. Does that sound like a ludicrous plan? Because it does to me. But we are going to attempt it. We are going to attempt to push another ship out of orbit using no docking ports, using nothing but a ramming thrust from this pod. This is dangerous, because if we lose the parachute, which will be our ramming instrument, none of us are coming home. I'm doing this because for the mission, to get our 60,000 credits back, we need this science pod returned to Kerbal. Not just Kernie. Not just Kernie. So I'm not sure I can do this. This is difficult. And I have, of course, no RCS system whatsoever, which makes it more difficult. No, I don't see this succeeding at all. No, going to bring home Kernie and just scrap the mission because, oh no, I have to try it. No, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it. God help me. We might have 2 space casualties in a bit. 2 space casualties. But they will be heroes never stopping to get money. Never, no, just rambling. Right. Hit it. Did that impart any sort of speed at all to Kernie? Is he now moving slower? He is tumbling 77 kilometers. It really is just a matter of, it is a matter of low speed. There's not a lot of things he has to do. Those words don't make any sense. What I'm trying to say is he can do it. It is easy for him to do it. He doesn't need to apply a whole lot of thrust. He's going to attempt to do it with his EVA jetpack as well. Let's have a look. Activate the lights. And what I have now is a large flat surface to push on with the jetpack. So go on, Kernie. Go on. Go on. Push on that ship. Isn't this great? He is... Oh no, I switched the camera around. Don't do that. Don't do that, Kernie. Oh, look out. He has expended some of his jetpack fuel. Basically all he needed was for Bob to come and say, don't be a pussy, just do it. So here he is pushing again. No, don't switch the camera around. I did it again. But he's going to get back in his ship, use the telemetry from there, and see if this worked out at all. If it did, that'd be great. That'd be great. Grab that and get in there. 75. So it did work, but not quite. But we do have enough confidence to do this. Come on, get out there. And I'm just going to push a full jetpack load, and I will fast forward for you because I can understand that's not the most important, the most interesting thing to watch. But it is life and death for poor Kernie, who by now really doesn't want to show up home without any money, without any completed mission goals. He wants to bring his capsule home. So, see you in a bit. Oh dear. Kernie is now at 3.1% jetpack fuel. He will manage to get lost in space off his capsule. Believe you me, if anyone can do it, it's Kernie. Small thrusts, grab that rung. He grabs it with 0.3% pack fuel remaining. Get inside. Wow, almost lost him forever. We're at 71 meters. And of course, if we want to do this properly, we will warp to our apoapsis. And I'm going to rule that he has 1 pack load of fuel remaining. If that won't do it, then he's not going to get his mission. He's got 2 suits full of propellant. Not unlimited, not an unlimited amount. Holy Jesus Christ! And let's have a look here at what's going to happen if we try this again. So I'll fast forward that for you again. 3.5% fuel remaining. The return to the capsule is going to be a hairy one, but in better news, we did manage to grab it. We did manage to lower the periapsis of this crazy craft. Wait, did we not bring a heat shield? Did we not detach this? Holy moly, this is a crazy craft. Right, we have a periapsis at 60 kilometers that will take a few passes to break back to Kerbin, which we will now attempt. Ah, no, are you kidding me? The mission controller now is not recognizing the mission because the periapsis is not an orbital one as soon as we board the capsule. Right. No. Just no. That is not going to fly. This money is earned, damn it. Kernie went out and pushed twice. So if he survives the landing, we are getting that money. Everybody knew he did it. Well, this is going to take a while because 60-kilometer re-entries don't slow you down that much, actually, shockingly. So I'm going to tumble the craft to get as much drag as possible and do the physical time warp, because this will take a while. Look, our apoapsis is reducing, but it is doing so very, very, very slowly, really slowly, very gently. As we have lost 1 kilometer of apoapsis. Not even yet. We have almost lost. Now we have lost about 1 kilometer of apoapsis. So if we lose another one, it will be 10 passes through the atmosphere before we will have a trajectory that's purely atmospheric. So this will take a while. So it'll be about 5 passes, I think. Tell you what, I'll count the passes and I'll get back to you when we have something that's resembling a re-entry corridor. Right, so here we are, another sunrise, and if we have a look at the map view, we see the trajectory is not going out of the atmosphere anymore. We might even re-enter on this pass. It took 4 or 5 passes around the planet. It took quite a few amount of minutes, about 15 to 20 minutes in real time to do that, but Kernie is now definitely committed into coming home. There are a few problems. First, we are coming in very, very shallow. We are basically already re-entering for half an hour. Now in the top half of the atmosphere, the heating isn't that bad. In fact, our tank is still at minus 80 degrees. It might seem cold, but the normal temperature for things at this altitude are about minus 200. So we are definitely already incurring some form of heating. And we didn't think to attach a heat shield, no, a decoupler to this tank here. So the heat shield is obstructed by the tank. This means that the tank will probably explode. If that happens and it does not take the heat shield with it, we should be fine. But an exploding tank could very well take out the entire craft, in which case we would most assuredly not be fine. A shallow re-entry corridor like this incurs a very low amount of g-forces because we slow down gently. But while we are experiencing less deceleration, less heating per second, we are going to be subjected to that admittedly lower heat for a far greater amount of time. It will be in the oven far longer. On the other hand of the spectrum is a very steep re-entry corridor where you incur a lot of g-forces and generate a massive shock heating effect. Very hot, but this only lasts for a relatively short time. Most real-world re-entry corridors are a trade-off between these two extremes. Of course, if there is pilots involved, you can't subject them to too high g-forces. Structures are generally fine if built for them, and this is also what the popular phrase come into steep and you burn up, and come into shallow and bounce off refers to a bit. It gets it a little bit wrong, because re-entry wise, if you come in too steep, you don't burn up, you get crushed by the g-forces. And if you come in too shallow, you don't get crushed, but you burn up slowly. The skipping off into space bit implies that you would gain speed from the atmospheric interface, which doesn't happen. In fact, you just don't slow down enough and you remain in space for another orbit or whatever your trajectory is. And in real life that's a problem, because you don't have enough consumables for another long orbit. In KSP, fortunately, we don't have to worry about things like that. And Kernie is perfectly happy staying in orbit, in space, in the upper atmosphere for a long time. We are now at a positively lukewarm 25 degrees on the outer tank, which is fairly warm considering we are at 50 kilometers altitude. If you've ever been in a commercial jetliner, which flies at about 10 kilometers, you might have seen the readout that the atmosphere there is about minus 40, minus 50 degrees. So to incur, now I'm not implying, by the way, that the Kerbal atmosphere is in any way realistic considering its temperature, but still 50 degrees is most assuredly warm for this altitude. We are now slowing down. We are at 48 kilometers and our periapsis is now 15 kilometers, so we are definitely not going to circle the planet another time. We might even land somewhere near the KSC. That would be something, wouldn't it? So far so good. We have very gently braked over the past hour, but we're still coming in at 2300 meters per second. And we're just about to start entering the thicker parts of the atmosphere. So the heating is going to become an issue. We're at 160 degrees now. And if I recall from the vehicle assembly building, this tank will withstand about 1000 degrees. So we're going to keep a close eye on this temperature. And as soon, we're going to try and use the reaction wheels to stay oriented. And as soon as that temperature starts to rise too high, I'm thinking of just tumbling the ship to subject different parts of it to that re-entry heating. We're at 40 kilometers now, 300 degrees on the tank, and still moving very fast. Here's the space center. There's some pieces of debris in the ocean. And Kernie, I hope you're feeling confident, because we're coming in, and we're gonna come in hot. I hope these experiments will survive. Let's take this experiment here. Sure. The goo seems to be getting very cold. That's great, but the fuel tank is getting hot. Hot, hot, hot. It is working out that these engines on the side, they're getting even hotter. They will burn off first, I think. But the pod is still at a lukewarm 100 degrees. The parachute here, arguably our most important part, is at 54 degrees. That should do fine. And our makeshift heat shield, the empty tank, is starting to rapidly heat up. It's at 500 now. What if I incur a spin like this? That does not help for the fuel tank. Oh, it went down. It does help for the fuel tank. Go on. Spin. Kernie will be getting sick though. We're at 34 kilometers now, definitely starting the re-entry deceleration, 1900 meters per second, and the temperatures are increasing rapidly now. And I'm afraid if I try an end-over-end tumble, that we are going to lose control of the craft indefinitely. Here we have it. The pod is now heating up. Oh no, 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 no. Now the side, this pod is getting really hot now. So yeah, all I can do now is tumble the craft because, ooh, no. I have definitely lost all resemblance of control. All I can try now is just tumble it, and try and roast it. Yeah, this is stupid. I should not have done this. I'm now pointing into the... I'm going to deploy the parachute. Maybe that will turn us around. We have to turn around. The parachute has to turn to the rear of the craft. Oh no, the parachute exploded. We are screwed now. We are screwed now. The parachute should have pointed towards the rear of the craft, of course, to not burn up and to protect and to drag the top of the capsule back. So now I am rather worried about the capsule itself, although it doesn't really matter because how is it going to land without a parachute? Oh my god. We're still at the kilometer per second and spinning rapidly. I think we're through the worst of it, through the heating. The tumbling must have protected us somehow by exposing different parts of the rocket at different times to the heating. Everything survived but the parachute. So now we're just plummeting to the ground ballistically. Kernie again coming in for a suicidal landing. We'll see if his the ship isn't even able to control its tumble at this point. If we use the SAS system, it is. If we point the tank down, perhaps... No, Kernie is not going to survive this. Kernie is not going to survive this. He's going to try his same trick as he did before by jumping into the ocean. He might be able to make something happen for himself. He might be able to make something happen for himself, but I'm not confident. Coming in at 150 meters per second, which is colloquially known as too fast to re-enter. Here we go, we're upside down. Let's see if Kernie will survive. Vessel is destroyed, cannot autosave at this point. Kernie Kerman was killed. Kernie Kerman splashed down hard. Right, so this is a prime example of a botched re-entry after a very arduous journey to actually re-enter. Kernie, he could have just gotten out of his craft, jetpacked over to Bob, which then would have gently wafted him down to safety. But no, Kernie had to do it himself, use his jetpack, and ultimately that killed him. We have mission 21 here. This was Bob trying to rescue Kernie. That mission obviously failed, and yeah, he doesn't even pack the proper parts to finish this mission. So Bob's purpose here, he could just land and go back home and mourn Kernie. That's not going to happen though. He is going to remain here in space and basically he'll be on standby for any other stranded Kerbonauts. Let's rename that vessel into a rescuer, without the caps, like a rescuer 1. Let's call it rescuer 2, why not? There we are. So, quite an unsatisfactory ending to today's mission. We have killed Kernie, while today's objective was in fact to rescue him. So that did not work out too well. Let's have a look at the astronaut complex. Now Kernie Kerman is definitely missing in action, and I'm just going to have to hire Gene Bus Kerman. Gene Bus Kerman. He has maximum courageous and maximum stupidity. This is the best. He is going to go on our interplanetary mission, I'm sure. Hire him. Now we have Chatful, Maling, and Genie Bus. Right. So tomorrow we are going to launch something to Juna, probably. Maybe Val. At least we're going to launch something. So tune back in tomorrow. Remember, if you watch this, that just gave me 100 credits for the space program. And as you can see, we are needing them because we've again thrown away a lot of money by failing the mission. If you subscribe, do so if you liked it. That will give me 1,000, which is almost an engine. Half an engine, 1/3 of an engine. So subscribe and help me build rockets. This was Lorenzo, signing off. See you tomorrow.